So with conjugate training, it's basically the coupling, right? It's combining different methods of training. So it's different methods of muscle tension. So it's taking the method of max effort, so the max effort method, the repetition method, and the dynamic effort method, and combining them all together, thus conjugating, coupling those methods. When I speak about the repetition method, I'll speak about it in regards to repetition method. Man, heartburn came back from years ago. So I'm going to have a monster drink. That's sure going to fucking help. I'm going to speak about the repetition method as it's defined, but also what I call a modified repetition method, which is, you'll see. I do feel they are still the same thing, but so you're going to have we're going to label the days instead of just having day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. It's easier to understand to say, okay, here's max effort lower body, here's max effort upper body, here's dynamic lower body, here's dynamic upper body. That doesn't necessarily mean that max effort work is going to always fall on max effort day. That's where a lot of people are getting confused. It would be easier if I could go back in time and to explain this all over again. I would say you got a heavy upper body day and you got a fast upper body day, or maybe even a slow upper body day and a fast upper body day, a slow lower body day and a fast upper body day, and kind of go that route, or heavy and light instead of max effort and dynamic effort. Because when people ask me about the max effort method, well, that's working up to a 1 rep max. And the question then is, well, what if I do a triple? Well, it's not max effort then, it's sub-maximal. Well, so-and-so says that's what max effort, you see where the confusion starts to become. It's because the days are called max effort day. So the method that might be used could be a max effort method, or it could be a sub-maximal method. So sub-maximal is just max effort intensities are going to be 90% above. All right. Sub-maximal is going to be, you can kind of say pretty much anything that falls underneath that. So you're going to have max effort lower. And let's just say this is Monday. All right. And then Wednesday, max effort upper. Friday, dynamic lower. Sunday, dynamic upper. I always forget to put warm up in there. Warm up really should be before the max effort exercise. The warm up that I have them do, and I'm not saying that this is the best. It's a series of 5 or 6 different exercises, which is performed in a circuit, which means there's no break between the exercises. The exercises are light. They're not performed to any type of failure or close to failure, and they may go through the rotation once. If they go through once and feel good, that's all they need to do. If they don't feel like they're ready to actually do the next exercise, which would be the max effort or dynamic work, then they'll go through twice. So I think I have it programmed 2 to 4 rotations, but if one works, it's fine. If it takes 4, it takes 4. But even with the 4 rotations, it's not going to take more than 10 minutes. And some of the exercises that are included in there are hanging leg raises, and we're using straps, so not hanging onto the bar, but using hanging leg raises, using the straps or this harness straps, because I want the lower back to distract. That's the main reason for that, is I want the hips to open up and the lower back to distract. And then if they have to do a knee raise with a hip tilt, and that's the best they can do, that's where they start. The goal is to get it to where they can actually bring their feet up, legs straight, and kick the bar at the top. That's what I would like to see. Repetitions I don't even program. So it's 4, 5, 10, whatever they want to do. It's whatever they want to do. I just want, the biggest goal there is to open the hips up and to get a little ab work in. That's from there, the next is it's a bent knee reverse hyper. So it's not really using the weight. It's, some of them will use the weight and use the pendulum reverse hyper. But it's just getting the back and getting the glutes firing. So it's more getting the glutes firing that I'm looking at. That's why I like the bent knee reverse hyper, because it's not loaded and it's just focusing on squeezing the ass to get it to fire. Then the next movement may be pull down abs, which I've done videos on. You can search Google to be able to find it. Make sure you're doing it right. You're not planting your ass against the cable and you're letting the cable pull you up. So the cable machine and the strap is basically held under your chin. So in the top position, it's pulling your spine apart. So it's, again, it's distracting your spine. Then it's forcing you to, at the bottom, I want the lower back to round over to stretch the spinal erectors, then to come back up again. So by doing this, basically bending over and standing up, with weight, we're getting that distraction, we're getting the hamstrings stretched, and again, we're getting the abs activated from there. Next movements like face pulls, band pull aparts, and glute ham raises. So the glute ham raises might be 1 rep, it may be 3 reps, it could be 10 reps. It depends upon their strength. And that's it. So it's enough to get everything activated and firing. It's enough to get a little bit of a sweat going. It's better than them walking on a bike or walking on a treadmill or riding a bike, and gets them moving. Sometimes if they're late, they don't do it. They just jump right into the mix, and I like that. I don't like them not doing it all the time, but I like them being conditioned enough to be able to jump right into the mix, because that's the whole point of doing warm-up work in the first place, is to warm you up, but to also prepare you to be able to do whatever you need to do if the warm-up can't be done. And I don't think it has to be any more complicated than that. So let's just take this day by day. So with the max effort lower body exercise, you want to change this. You want to change it every week. I've done it every way possible. I've had people say, you know what, my guys do real good doing 5s on 1 week and then 3s on the next week and singles on the 3rd week. And if they're a beginner, that makes sense. They get acquainted to the exercise on week 1. They do a little bit of strength work on week 2. It leaves them a little bit of, strength left to hit it on the last week. I think that you can still change it every week, regardless of the skill level of the athlete. You're going to have if it's a beginner, you're going to have less max effort exercises that you're going to rotate through. You may only use 6 to 8 total, where if it's a highly advanced lifter, it's somebody that's done conjugate training for 10 years, they may not repeat the same max effort exercise for a year. They're going to keep rotating it through because they need that different stimulus over and over, all the time. Where a beginner still has to develop that neural efficiency and the coordination skills and the skills on lifting heavy weight. So you want to keep the movements down a little bit. I would say with this, you want to use a mix of good morning type movements, squat type movements, and deadlift type movements. So, and if I was to put a percentage on this, what I used to say, I think I used to put like 10% of the time a deadlift, 40% of the time a squat, 50% of the time some type of bend over, a good morning. So now with the good morning, are you going to do a single? I found over a period of time, no. The good mornings are going to stay submaximal. So they're going to stay, like 3 to 5s are what you're going to work up to, 1 to 2 sets. With the squat, it's definitely going to be a single. With the deadlift, it's definitely going to be a single. All right, so with the max effort exercise, you're going to rotate through each week either some type of good morning squat or deadlift. Now, you're not going to be doing good morning. You're not going to do week 1 good morning, week 2 squat, week 3 deadlift, You're not going to repeat through that same rotation over and over and over and over. What I find works best is if you're working with a group of lifters, let them pick, okay? Or if it's just you training by yourself, decide when you get to the gym. Don't try to program this shit out. Trying to program this shit out is, I'm going to try not to curse here. It's not smart. All right. So it's fucking stupid. Trying to program this out is just fucking stupid. This has got to seriously be auto-regulated based upon how you feel. And the best time to make that decision is after you've walked into the gym and you've done your warm-up. So if you're thinking that night, man, I want to hit that, low box safety bar squat, I'm going to kill that record tomorrow. You can think that all you want. Then you walk in the gym that next morning and you're like, man, fuck, this ain't going to happen. I got to do some kind of pull. I got to do a high pin pull because, shit don't feel right. My hamstring, whatever, just doesn't feel like it's on point. You want to train things that feel like it's on point. You want to train things that you're excited to do. First off, you're going to put more effort into it. You're going to enjoy it more. And the number one goal of this whole movement is to strain and to teach you to strain so you can learn the ability to strain with heavy weights for different periods of time, say 3 to 5, maybe even 7 seconds. That's the main goal. So you want to change the exercises around enough for variety. And the reason why the deadlift is lower is unless you're built to deadlift, the deadlift is really hard to recover from. So if it's somebody that's built to deadlift, yeah, they can do this way more frequently than somebody that's not. Most people aren't, so the percentages are really irrelevant. You want some type of variation of a good morning, a squat, or a deadlift for that max effort work. Now, there's search elitefts.com, lower body max effort variations. I believe an article will pop up that's got over 1,000 different variations with just a freaking barbell. So you'll find the ones that you like, and then that's what you stick with. Now, how do you work up to it? You go through your warm-ups, and as you're warming up, start with the bar. That was one of the things I learned from Westside, which was kind of a wake-up call for me, is most of the gyms I trained at before that, you would think that a plate was welded on every bar that was in the gym because there was never less than a plate. There was a plate, at least in the gyms I trained at, there was a plate on every bar and every rack and every bench, so that you just started with the plate. You go plate, until you had your training weight. Really fucked me up when I came into Westside and everybody started with the bar. Like, I don't get this. And, over a period of time, I started to understand why. You do the reps with the bar until the bar feels like a bar. And then you'll go, if it's a bench, you'll go to 95 pounds. If it's a squat or a pull, you'll go to a plate and kind of go from there. And then every time you jump up, it's based upon the set that you just did. So if you did 135 and that felt good, and you're doing triples to warm up or whatever you decide you want to do for your warm-ups, doubles, triples, singles, doesn't really matter. I mean, you do want to get some type of work done. So I wouldn't suggest doing all singles on your warm-up. I'm more inclined to like doubles and triples as for all the warm-up sets, just to be able to develop more workload when you start to get to the heavier weights towards the top. And then 10% jumps, probably more along 5% jumps all the way up until you get into that striking range of where your PR is or where you think your PR is, and then knock out the PR by 5 pounds. Or if it's been a long time and you haven't been in that exercise, I'm not a big fan of hitting the PR, but if you want to hit the PR, hit this, hit the same weight that you did before, or, whatever it is. But you want to try to get somewhere between 2 and 4 total repetitions above 90% when you look back. So after you're done with your max effort exercise and you look back at what you did, there should be at least 2 reps that have been done over 90%. So that could be 90% for a single, 94% for a single, and then that's it. You start to get over the 4, then you're starting to push the limits of what you're going to be able to recover from. But that's the same with any max effort exercise that you decide. The second grouping of movements. So we say the warm-up is the first category. The max effort would be the second category. The third category is what I call supplemental movements. Your supplemental movements are going to be the movements that make these movements stronger. So your supplemental exercises are the exercises that are going to make your max effort exercises stronger, or your dynamic exercises stronger. They're going to make your main lifts stronger. To make it more easily defined, they're typically always going to be a compound movement of some sort. And the repetition range is usually going to fall somewhere between 3 to 5. And the set range can also fall, in the 3 to 5 range there. So let's say it's the low box squat was done for the max effort work, the supplemental work, what's your weak point? That's where weak point development comes in there. Most people have no idea what their weak point is. So they're like, shit, I can't do this. I don't know my weak points. That's fine. Just assume it's your hamstrings. Most lifters, it's their hamstrings. Depending upon, now you got a lot of guys that are squatting closer and their knees are coming, the shin angles pretty much right where the toes are. So you can start running into quads being the weak point. So squat style depends upon this a little bit. So I still say even if you're that type of lifter, hamstrings are still glutes and hamstrings are a giant driver of the power lifts. So if you don't know what your weak point is, just assume it's your hamstrings. So for the supplemental exercise, you're going to be looking at some type of hamstring movement, like a glute ham raise, an RDL, stiff leg, I'm not really a fan of a manual leg curl as a supplemental exercise, but it can be. Basically, a manual leg curl is the same thing as a glute ham raise, except your knee doesn't drop. There is a difference between a glute ham raise and a manual leg curl. They're not the same. A glute ham raise, your knee and hip flexes at the same time, so the muscles contracting from origin and insertion. It's the same, kind of this same way that you would squat, you'd pull, and so forth. If you're doing a manual leg curl, your knee's fixed to the floor, or to a bench, and it's not dropping. So the only thing then that's moving is the hips. So it's a great hamstring exercise, but it wouldn't be one of my top rated. I would put the glute ham raise over that, or an RDL over that. But it can still be done here, especially Louis' machine, the
inverse curl.
Yeah, the inverse curl. That's a really good one, especially if they're not strong enough to do the glute ham raises. It's another reason why I put the glute ham raises as a warm-up movement, because even if it's a body weight movement. So even if they can just do negatives, or have to have somebody help them, or have to, do reverse band work, or use a pole, or whatever they have to do to get the reps up, they're going to get them up. So, that's my goal, is to be able to get them to where they can do glute ham raises here, weighted or eccentric only, or dynamically, or, and we have another article on the website which is 16 or 20 ways to master the glute ham raise, which you can rotate through those and keep the glute ham raise in, is a supplemental movement pretty much all year round. That's how much I believe in the glute ham raise from that standpoint. So the supplemental movement is basically going to be that movement that works on your weak point, but also has an impact on the movement working up the ladder, right? So under that, the fourth group is accessories. I'll probably spell this wrong because I'm an idiot. That's my way to spell accessories. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but it's accessories. Same thing. All right, the accessories. Now this is where your ab work is going to fall and must fall. This is where the reverse hypers or low back work is going to fall and must fall. These things have to be done here. I don't like to have them done early on because you don't want to do all these other exercises with your abs and lower back in a fatigue state. I understand the reasons why you would at certain times, but I'm putting a basic template out there right now. This is it, the simplest that you can possibly make this. So the ab work would be something like the pull down abs, something that's going to be standing. What's standing ab work? Well, it can be pull down abs with a cable. It can be pull down abs using a band. It can be the paleo press. It can be, there's a host. Just search standing ab work. There's a host of things that you can do for your abdominals in a standing position. Why do we want to train them in a standing position? We want to reinforce the rooting of the foot into the ground. And when you're training your abs in a standing position, that weight or that cable or whatever you're doing is going to want to try to knock you off your feet. So you have to grasp into the ground with your feet. So it's indirectly training something that needs to be trained. That's one reason. The other reason why you have to develop your core, I know Nate's laughing right now. You have to develop this shit out of your torso. I've always said the thicker the torso and the thicker the head, the bigger the lifts. So you have to develop the torso. And you lift in a standing position. A lot of sports are done in a standing position. Laying on the floor doing crunches isn't going to do you shit. So you want this in a standing position. I'm a big fan of the reverse hyper because I've seen it. I've seen the benefits of it for 30 some years, maybe even more than that now. And I've not seen maybe one. I've seen maybe one person that couldn't do them because it hurt their back too bad. And even with that one person, I question if that's because their lower back was just too weak. But I'm not a doctor, so I can't make that decision. So I've seen more positive out of it than negative for it to not be there, right? So one of the arguments that goes against Conjugate and against West Side type training is the box squats are terrible for you because they're going to fuck up your lower back. Okay, let's just assume that's true. Then obviously the reverse hypers are keeping our lower back from being fucked up. Well, no, the reverse hypers are terrible for your lower back. Well, then obviously the box squats aren't that bad for your lower back. So it's the application of the movement, guys. So all the movements you want to make sure that you're performing with the best technique you can possibly use that you're aware of. So you couldn't be ignorant, on how to do something, but do it to your best ability, to your best ignorance level that you can, so you're always trying to strive to make the technique better on all the different movements. Where technique begins to break down is where joint issues start to happen, where overuse issues start to pile up a little bit more. In the fifth category,
somebody just said, how long are those phases before you would rest and change the weight? I don't know if that's too general of a question.
I understand what he's talking about. Okay, so for the supplemental exercise and for the accessory exercise, you always want to, you can stick with these exercises for as long as you like. The max effort exercise you want to change every week. For me personally, when I was training, my max for my squats at Westside for 8 years, I don't think I changed a single exercise except the max effort exercise. Now, I did change the dynamic waves, which we'll talk about that. My supplemental exercise was always glute ham raises, pull down abs, and reverse hypers. Never, ever changed. I might do other things after that, but those never changed. But how I did them always did. So the glute ham raises one time might have been just pure volume. And this was all based upon feel. So if after I may have a max effort squat day that just kicks my ass, and after that movement, I'm already fucking sore. Well, then obviously I'm not going to go balls out on glute ham raises. I'm going to go volume. So I'm going to say, okay, how many reps can I get over 2 sets? Or how many sets will it take for me to get 100 reps? And kind of go volume from that approach. And then the next time I would do it, it would be med ball eccentrics. So I come to the top, somebody hands me a 100-pound med ball, you lower it, to come back to the top, do 3 to 5 reps that way. Next time may be putting a box underneath the front end or underneath the back end to make it higher, so it changes the angle, which makes it way harder to do. That one we did a lot of. Sometimes it was, holding a yoke bar. I mean, we just mix it up. So it always changed. I changed it every single time. I think with intermediates or beginners, if you're going to keep the same exercise, keep it for 3 sessions, which means keep it for Monday, keep it for Friday, and then keep it for the next Monday, and then switch it to something else. And then over those 3 rotations, or the 3 times that you do it, try to either lift more weight or get more reps. And with the accessories, same thing. The accessories you can actually cycle longer. I would say with that one, you can probably run out for like 5 weeks, 4 weeks. It's once again, it's dependent upon how you feel. But the accessories, again, for me, I kept that the same year round. It's just the only difference was on max effort day, I did volume on the abs and the reverse hypers, where on Friday on the dynamic day, I made it really, really, really fucking heavy. So on the reverse hyper on Monday, it was tight. I called it tight and right. So I did them really strict and really tight. So the repetitions were like 10 to 15, but man, it burnt like crazy. And then on Friday, it was loose and heavy. So that's where you loaded the shit out of that thing and then let it swing, so it really distracted, the lower back of the bottom, and then flex your ass as hard as you can, to get it up, and that would usually fall in the 5 to 6 range. So those are just examples there, but the accessories can run in phases of, I would say you can take that out to 6 to 8 weeks. Can you see that? Yep, 6 to 8 weeks. Where on the supplemental, maybe three times, and then this is 1 time, for that, and this will be the same as we kind of go through here. The last part of the training is what I call free time, and sometimes I'll give suggestions on exercises that can be done. Sometimes I'll put a time period on it. But, every person I've ever worked with, every lifter I always know, or have always known, however you want to say it, they all have their exercises that they like to do. And some of them, as long as it's not hurting them, there's no reason why they can't continue to keep doing them. You just throw them at the end of the workout and say, dude, you got 15 minutes. Do whatever you want. If you want to do preacher curls, you fucking knock them out. 1-arm preacher curls, knock them out. Don't give a shit. Do whatever you want, but it's got to be done during the free time. What happens most of the time is they're not going to do anything. Sometimes they will, but it will be half of what they thought they were going to do. So it works really good for It works really good for kids, and it works really good for athletes that really are not, and I'm not talking this whole thing, I'm just talking having a free time period. Works really good for athletes that are doing their weight training as their GPP, because they're going to do curls, they're going to do push downs, they're going to train the shit out of their arms. I'm telling you that right now. If you're a coach, you already know I'm right. Okay, if you don't have benches in your program and you're a strength coach, they're still going to bench. They're just going to do it in their buddy's garage, or they're going to do it in the rec center. So build somewhere in there for them to be able to do it. And then at least it can be supervised, and they're in a fatigue state, so they're not going to be that strong. So they're not even going to be strong enough to do that much damage, you know, and it's not going to, because you're putting a time limit on it, which I like 15 to 20 minutes. And I definitely think you have to put a time limit on it, because if you get somebody that's super motivated on some day, they may be in the gym for 4 hours, all right, which just fucked up the whole rest of the week. So you put that time period on it, let them do whatever they want, as long as it's not something that's going to aggravate a pre-existing injury or something that's stupid for them to do. So I don't need to go into what all those things are. It's just anything that causes pain you don't want them to do. That can also be a time to put in, I really don't like the word, but prehab movements. If they're an athlete or a lifter that does external, internal rotation movements and think that really helps their bench, well, that's where it goes. You can also have, post-workout restoration time, which would be here, but that's not part of the 15 to 20 minutes. So I could say here.
Yeah, keep an eye on that screen there, Dave.
Okay. Post-workout restoration, but that's not always necessary, because that can happen on the days in between. It can happen at different times. So I'll just put a question mark there. The free time, I don't have to put how often that's going to rotate, because you're not going to program anything in there for them. So that's a basic max effort lower body. Okay, things are going to start moving really quick now. All right, now the max effort upper body works the same way every week. You're going to use some type of press. I can say horizontal being okay, man, I'm going to give you overhead press guys here a little break. 80% of the time, and then vertical 20% of the time. So, board press, floor press, pin press, you guys know all the max effort upper body movements. Everybody knows those. It's, again, you can search those, elitefts.com, max effort upper body. I have also videos that we've done only speaking about the dynamic effort method. I have articles long form articles on that, long form articles on the max effort method, and long form articles on the supplemental exercises, which when this is posted, I will, when we post it on the site, at least as an article, or I post it in my blog, I will put those articles as links. Sometimes we say that we're going to put them as links in the videos, and we forget, because we want to get the video up for you guys as fast as we can. So sometimes we forget to go back and do that stuff, but it's always going to be on, at least in my blog, I'll always make sure to keep them in there so they're kind of together. And this will probably end up going on my IG bio link tree, because I think this is going to be a video that I'm going to be referring up 100 times a week to people when it comes to conjugate training. So again, you're going to work up exactly the same way like we talked about with the max effort lower body. Just start with a bar, 5% jumps. If you got to go a little bit lower, work up slow, try to get the, 2 to 4 reps over the 90% for that top, and you kind of roll from there. I mean, it's the same thing. Now, if it's a vertical, or it's an overhead, if you know how to do it, you know how to brace, you know how to keep your core, tight, then a standing overhead press is fine. I prefer a seated, back supported pin press from different levels. I like the forehead, I like the nose, I like the chin. They're easy to remember. So you got your chin level, nose level, forehead level, and then you can work up to, and that's usually going to be a single anytime you're pressing off a pin, because things get really funky when you start trying to do multiple reps off of pins, because the bar moves around and stuff like that. So single is definitely the way to go there. Once you get through the max effort exercise, we're going to fall into the supplemental. The warm up, exactly the same. I use the same warm up for the lower body as I do the upper body, because the upper body's got the face pulls, it's got all that crap in there too. And it's 2 more times per week that we get to get on the abs and get on the hip flexors and hit the lower back. So same principle with warm-up applies to all training days. Supplemental exercises. Okay, same thing, man. 3 to 5 sets, working sets of 3 to 5 reps, and it's going to be working your weak point. What's your weak point? Bench press, man, it's going to be 90% of the time it's your triceps. So it's going to be some type of modified extension, or some type of close grip bench. So it can be a JM press, it can be a modified tricep extension, it can be, I'm not big on tricep extensions as far as being, like tricep barbell extensions as far as being, for 5 reps, but rolling dumbbell extensions, most definitely. Anything that it is a close grip or an extension would fall into this category here. So close grip or an extension. Now, yes, your shoulders could be your weak point, but I'm telling you 90% of the time it's not. All right, so we're keeping this simple and effective, and that's where I'm going with. So I'm going with the vast majority. Accessories. Now we're going to be dealing with lats, and I'm going to talk a little bit more in depth about the lats here in a second. But for now, we're just going to put lats. But then we're going to put shoulders. And it doesn't have to be heavy shoulder stuff. You just have to work your shoulders. You got to get a pump in your shoulders. Because if you're going to be doing the OHP, up here, then the shoulder work here can be, the lifters out here use the American angled press bar for overhead presses for sets of 6 to 12 very, very frequently. And they still use the freaking prototype bar, which drives me nuts. But I think they do it just because they know it drives me nuts. So they're using a bar that's basically duct taped together. But the shoulders don't have to be that heavy type of work. It can be side raises, it can be front raises, rear delt raises. I like the battle ropes, doing circuits with the battle ropes. From that standpoint, just pump the shit out of the shoulders. It's especially the rear delts. So this is where somebody asked earlier about DC training. When you're dealing with the accessories, then you can use bodybuilding methods. I suggest you do use bodybuilding methods where you're using slower tempos, peak contraction, strip sets, rest pause, stuff like that, because it's fun, it's something different, and what you're really trying to do down here is to build muscle. That's kind of the goal of this whole section, is to build muscle and to also build stability. So that kind of comes hand in hand with the rep ranges that we're talking about, which down here in the accessories, we're talking about 8 to 12 from a rep range. And the sets you can run as high as you want. It can be 4, 8, doesn't really matter. Keeping it, again, very, very simple. Now, when I'm talking about lats, I do believe that the lats should be trained every training session if you're a power lifter. Now, how you want to do that and when you want to do that is up to you. The way I did it is I trained it on Tuesday. I trained it on my off days. That's personally how I did it. And then did it as a little bit of warm-up work on the upper body days. That seemed to be what was effective for me. What I suggest people do is to do all vertical pulling, have 2 vertical pulling sessions a week and 2 horizontal pulling sessions a week. So that way it allows the muscle to kind of recover a little bit better than the contrast being doing a low row and a pull down both on the same day. I'd rather you have like a row day and then a pull down day. And if the row day preferably would fall on the bench days, the better, but it depends on how you're training and if you're doing deadlifts and stuff like that. So the lat should be trained somewhere, even if it's in the free time. So if I put it down here, so it could be in the free time or it could be in the warm up, but they have to be hit 4 times a week. So it's an exception where a lot of times I will stick it in the warm up, but all that really does is stretch out the lats and stretch out the shoulders, which I don't want to do before they're going to squat and before they're going to bench. So I really don't like having it in the warm up because that's a muscle I want to have tight when they're doing the basic heavier lifts. So I'm not a big fan of that, but if that wasn't the case, and it wouldn't create more issues than benefit, then I would do that. But or if there was no other way, then I would do it. But probably down into the free time or in the accessories, I guess you can put lats and then lats. Now Friday, so the dynamic day, here's the thing. All right, so you're going to have the speed work, which is going to run on a 3-week cycle, 3-week wave. Okay? There are hundreds of 3-week dynamic effort cycles that you can go look and find. So this is one of the biggest causes of confusion, is what percentage should I use? Here's what I do, is I'll take a lifter that if I'm not sure where their strength is at and I can't make a judgment on a perceived max, I never want to use a competitive max. I don't want to do that. Lifters sometimes can get too far away from that, especially if they're injured and if it's too far away from the meet and other variables that are associated with that. I don't like to use a training max because I don't like to have lifters work up and actually max out on those movements in training. If I have to, I will, but I don't want to. I like to use more of a perceived max. But for the speed work, it's even easier than that, because what you can do is take one training session that you're going to focus on. It's going to be the very first dynamic training session. And let's say you don't know what speed work you should be using now. Your next dynamic effort session, start with warm up, do your warm ups, all that kind of stuff. Use the bar, warm up, do your training weight. Start with 45%. Hit triples, hit 3 as fast as you can. It's probably going to feel way too light, like you can throw it through the ceiling. Okay, add 5%. All right, so now it's 50%. Do that for a triple. See how that feels. Then go 55%. See how that feels. At some point, you're going to hit a weight that's going to feel like, wow, this is I'm producing some force here, and the speed is good, and this feels good. This is, it's not too light. It's still kind of easy, but if I had to do 30 sets of this, I probably wouldn't be able to do it. My triceps, maybe you would, but your triceps would just be on fire. All right. So that's the weight that you're looking for. So let's say that happens at 55%, right? So go to the next percent up. I forgot where I left off. So 55%, then 60%, 65, 70. So you're going to keep working up 5% for each speed set until you start to notice that the bar speed is really slowing down, or your training partner says, whoa, shit, that's way off, where you started. Yes, fatigue is going to play a factor here, but that's fine. There's room for error. Fatigue can play a factor. It's fine. Wherever that begins to fall off, let's say it falls off at 70%. I know, I don't want that on screen. All right, so let's say it falls off at 70%. Now you know you can't do 70%. And you know where to start. So you're going to go and you're going to start at 55% and then go 60%, 65%. And right there is your 3-week wave. And that will be, say, 8 sets at 2. It could be 10 sets at 2. I mean, there's a lot of different, like I said, there's a lot of different dynamic cycles. You can search that again. I got a whole video just on that. But just the basic dynamic effort squat cycle with straight weight is a 3-week cycle of 8 sets of 2 reps on the squat. So this right here, using what I just said, is the most optimal way for you to figure out what the best dynamic effort training percent is for you. Okay? So you don't have to ask me questions like, well, Dave says you should use, 55 to 65%. Louis says you should use 40 to 50%. Matt Wenning says you should use 50 to 60%. Mark Bell says you should use 70 to 80%, and da 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 da. Nate Harvey says this to this, this to this, this to this. I respect all those guys, but I don't give a fuck about that. What I care about is what's going to work for you. All right. So, and you can use a Tendo unit and measure the force output if you really want to get, geeky and technical about it. And where the force output is hitting, right around 8 meters per second or whatever the hell it is, I never relied on those things. So I'm not a big fan of those. So it's kind of hard for me to be legitimate about it, but they definitely do work extremely well for a lot of people. So I just have a bias against it because it can be gamed, and I've seen athletes game it too many times that if you're going to use it and you're going to use it the way it's supposed to be used, then I think it's a great tool, and I think most powerlifters would. But if you're a strength coach or if you're somebody working with athletes, it's bullshit. It just becomes, a dick measuring contest, and their form goes to shit. So this is very simple, especially now. You can even film it and look to see if it's faster, slower, or whatnot. So you do your speed work. Now we're into the supplemental again. I'm starting to find out this is not exactly fast explanation of this.
Effective, not simple.
Yeah, it's actually simple. At least I think it's simple, and it's effective, but it's not quick. So that part was bullshit.
I left that out of the title.
Okay. The supplemental is going to be the same as Monday, man. So it's whatever your weak point is. So it's the hams, right? So it's the hamstring. So you got the glute ham, RDL, stiff leg, the choice of all the things that we spoke about before, any other things that could kind of fit into that category. We already talked about how to rotate it if you want to hit it Monday, Friday, Monday, or if you want to change it every week. It's just you have to have some kind of progression on it to where you're always striving to get better at it. So if I'm changing it every single session, then when I come back to the glute ham raise of the style that I did, the next time I come back to that style, I want to be stronger at it or be able to get more reps at it. So, and I was switching the glute ham raise very frequently. And I was also extremely fortunate that I didn't have to ever write anything down, because Louis was like a mastermind of that shit. So I didn't have to. His brain with numbers is something that I've never seen before in my life. So I could simply ask him, you know, look, with a 100-pound med ball, what's my best on, you know, eccentric only glute ham raises? And I mean, he's like, 8. Okay, I'll do fucking 9. And that's kind of how it works. You don't try to bite off more than you can chew. You get the 9, and hopefully you get the 9. You know, you get the 9 and that's it. If I could have done 10, fuck it, I didn't do 10. I did the 9. You know, that way I know there's still something left in the tank. I could have done 10, maybe, you know, maybe not. That'll happen next time. It's still better than what it was. And that's the whole thing, is you need to move forward, you know, with your training progression being better than what you were. And that's way harder to do than what people realize. But when you're a beginner and an intermediate, it's coasting. It's not that hard. You just stick to the basic rules. Don't bite off more than you can chew, and just keep progressing forward, taking the little chunks here and there. And after a few years, you're so much further than that you ever thought you were going to be. Then it gets hard. Then it gets complicated. This is still me trying to keep it as simple as possible. And even if you're more advanced in Conjugate, it's going to be a very good reminder on what the very basic part of this all is. And the accessory section, it's the same thing, man. Abs, reverse hypers, you know, lats. Change the exercises, change the sets, change the reps, change how you do it, change something. But it's essentially the same thing. I mean, these are almost just carbon copies, except for the emphasis, the first movement. It's pretty much the same shit. You're just changing, you know, the exercises, but the main blocks are kind of hitting all the same stuff, you know. And the free time, you know, is kind of the same for all the days. You know, for the dynamic bench, you'll have your warm up, and Mike, come with me. You're gonna have the speed work. This one here, you can run a 3-week phase or not. And you can come up with it the same exact way that I just told you how to come up with it with your squat. So say this ends up being a little bit heavier. Say this is like 60, 65, 70. Or you can just take one and use a flat wave, which is what I did the whole time I was at Westside. It never changed. So it was always the same thing. And actually the percentage over time went down. And I think this is an important point to drive home, that if you're doing, let's say you have, I'll keep it simple and stay with the flat wave. Let's say you have a flat wave of 65% for your speed work and for your bench. And now let's take it down. Let's say it's 60%. So if you're a 300-pound bencher, it's going to be lower than 60%. But say you're a 300-pound bencher, it's 180 pounds. So you use 180 pounds for 8 triples. So instead of doubles, they're going to be triples. You know, time under tension is going to be a little bit different. If you are using that 180% and it's a flat wave and you're using it for 20 weeks leading into a meet, and then you go to the meet and you hit 325 and it's easy, you left 20 pounds on the platform, don't change the percent or don't change the weight. Keep it at 180 and get the 350 next time. Let the percent drop the stronger you get, because you're becoming more neural efficient. What we found when I first got to Westside, I was doing straight weight speed work with 365 for half my sets and 405 for half my sets. And this was having a 540 raw bench. Okay. When I left, I want to stay out of when the gear started to get crazy. Several years later, when my bench had gone up, it was a 520 raw bench, I'm wrong. When my bench went up to 585 with a shirt, and the shirt might have 25, 30 pound carryover. It wasn't a great shirt. I was using 245 and 2 chains per side for 4 sets, and 275 for 4 sets. So basically what happened with all of us that were training there is, over a period of time, as we got stronger, if you went to a meet and the weight was easy, then there was no need to change the dynamic work. You just had to repeat what you did and go get what you left on the platform. That made it easier to recover from. It made it easier to mentally prepare for the meet, because you weren't going to really train dynamically with anything that you haven't used before. And this is before the bands came on. Bands changed everything. So as far as that kind of stuff went, bands changed everything. But a lot of people are going to be doing this crap, without bands. And if they're using bands, it's going to definitely change the percentages. Okay. So if you're using bands, the way it changes your percentage is the weight of the band tension at the bottom has to come off the bar. So you can still use whatever these speed percentages are. You can still use those, but if the band tension at the bottom is 40 pounds has to come off of the bar. Okay. With the chains, that doesn't have to come off the bar. Okay. So because the chains deload onto the floor, there's no tension at the bottom. So there's the difference with the chains and the bands, to keep it very simplified. There are other videos to be able to direct you to that as well. Supplemental wise, difference going on here is it's going to kind of be the same, but the volume's going to be higher, and it can flip-flop. This could be the higher volume, this could be the lower volume. So it's still going to be, some kind of close grip and extensions, but instead of the 3 to 5s, this might be, the 10 to 15 rep range, or vice versa. You can swap it however you want, just so you're not pounding it all the time in that same rep range. So it's allowing you to better recover and build more muscle and not beat the shit out of yourself. And then the accessories, same thing. So it's the shoulders, it can be push downs, just light bodybuilding stuff as the accessories. And then the free time. If this is being done and I trained in groups of 2. I mean, there's Louie and I were in the same group for a decade, so it was basically us together. And then in the accessory, the max effort work, the group might be 4 or 5, but for the dynamic work, it was 2. We'd get through all this in an hour, easy. I had no problem getting back to work, and I only had an hour and 45 minutes, to to be away, to actually be in the gym. So I did have time to get there, do some warm-up work, hit this kind of shit, do sled work, and then get the fuck out. All right. Things that are a layer over top of this are the recovery work, which would happen on the off days. And it can happen at the end of the sessions as well. But say the Tuesday, the Thursday, the Saturday. The biggest takeaway that I got from that is your body will adapt to restoration methods actually the same, if not faster, than it will adapt to training modalities. So those have to also change as well. So the sled dragging and stuff like that, I had a basic sled dragging routine that I used a lot, but I had to break from it a lot too, because just the movement, and flushing the muscle was great for the recovery and the restoration, because a lot of the sled work is concentric only. But after a couple of weeks, it wasn't doing shit for me anymore. So I had a week on, a week off, or I used, Louis had the rule of 60%. So I used that where you were starting, so it was actually hard the first time, and then you would reduce by 60% of everything for each session for 3 sessions, then take one off and then go back up to the start again, and then reduce down by 60%. So if it's 100 pounds, the first session, then it's going to be 60 pounds the second, then it's going to be, 30 some pounds the third. If it's 10 trips the first time, it's going to be, 6 trips the next time, then it's going to be, 4 trips the third time. So the distance, everything dropped by 60%. And so that was one of my main forms of restoration on the off days. The other thing was, if I was able to find a decent parking spot at work, then I would walk on the treadmill. And if I found a decent parking spot, then I would walk on the treadmill for 10 minutes at a very easy pace, pretty much every day, and not even enough to even sweat, just a very easy pace, because I was 300 pounds, so I wasn't doing it so much for the cardiovascular benefit. I was doing it so my aerobic base would not fall, because all gains in recovery are based upon your anaerobic capacity and your aerobic capacity. So if your aerobic capacity as a powerlifter on a scale of 1 to 10 is only a 3 and it falls to a 2, you're fucked. All right. If it's a 3 and you decide you want to take it to a 5, it's going to provide 0 benefit. It's just going to become something more you have to now recover from. So you got to find what's optimal for you from that standpoint. And if it does become, higher than what you need, you just back off of it and you let it detrain and then bring it back up again. The key thing is how well you recover from the things that are hardest for you to recover from. So earlier on, somebody was asking about, being more explosive than they were strong. So for me, the max effort work was by far the hardest thing for me to recover from. It felt like I got hit by a truck, before I left the gym, and waking up the next morning was not fun. So that whole next day was hell. And there was a lot of restoration, recovery, hot, cold contrast. I had access to a lot of things because I was in a health club. Whatever I needed to do to be able to make sure that by Tuesday night when I left work at 10, I was at least able to move like a normal person. And sometimes it took 3 or 4 sessions because that beat the shit out of me. The dynamic work was also very hard on me, but usually all that made me do was puke. So it wasn't muscularly hard on me because I was more genetically suited for that. All the recovery type stuff, or all the accessories and supplemental type stuff, I really didn't have that hard of a time recovering from that because I was always used to doing a very high volume, very high workload from a training standpoint. So that was more of my problem there was more not listening to Louis when he was telling me to do less, exercises, where optimally he wanted it to be around 3 or 4 for me. And I still would have been pushing like 6, 8, stuff like that. Just I thought I had to do it, so it was, maybe I did, maybe I didn't, in hindsight, I don't think it really made that much difference, so not down there. I think that when you're on the top end of this spectrum with, the max effort work and the supplemental work, those are your most important things. Those are the things that matter the most. You get those right. I'm not telling you to do that or to do this, but if you get those things right, you can blow everything else off. I've seen people blow off everything. I've seen lifters that I trained with at Westside only do the max effort and the dynamic work and leave and blow everything else off and gain like crazy. But they were also your more genetically suited freaks that didn't have to do that stuff, so others had to, it's some like myself had to do even more so than that. So it's a delicate balance when you have to do more than everybody else. And it's not about being the fucking hardest worker in the room. I don't like that statement. I like to be the most effective worker in the room, because that way you optimize and you recover, and then you kick ass when the meet comes around. Anybody can be the hardest worker in the room and then not make it to the fucking meet, so that doesn't really make any difference. I guess I can go to questions.
Okay.
I don't think I left anything out. That's the quick summary. But this is actually, guys, it's, if you take the time and you go through here and you digest this is the simplest way to explain this. In the article that I wrote for T-Nation, when I was coming out of the gate for T-Nation, it might have been the third or fourth article I wrote, was called The Periodization Bible Part 1 and Part 2. They're also listed on elitefts.com. So just searching Periodization Bible Part 1, Part 2, you're going to find pretty much this exact template on there to give you like a study guide. And I think the periodization Part 1 outlines all the negatives of the linear periodization. So it's the Periodization Bible Part 2. And if I'm wrong, which can be the case because I'm wrong a lot of the times, then the article you want to look for is called The 8 Keys.